Hey everyone, welcome back to our Excel series. In this video, I am going to show you how you can create a table and what kind of operations you can perform on Excel tables. So let's go to our data first. Now, this is the data, our favorite cars data. And what we need to do is that we need to create a table. But the first question is that why we create a table? There are multiple reasons behind this. First, the format. It shows the data in a pretty good way. That is the first reason. The second reason is that the operations in table is quite fast. Once you create a formula in a column, it will be applied throughout the rows, for all the rows, which I mean, and it helps you to reduce your manual effort for dragging and dropping the formulas. So I'll show you in this video how what I'm talking about. But the third point, that why we create a table, is that when you are creating charts or when you are creating pivot table and you create a pivot table using a data table in Excel, then you don't have to worry about the range which pivot table is using. If you add new rows within that range, pivot will automatically detect the new range, because the reason behind it is that you have used a table range for that. On the contrary part, if you do not use table as a range for pivot and you use a simple range or a simple data set which is not converted into table, then you manually have to go back and change the entire range for that pivot table. So that is one of the major reasons that we use table in Excel. So let's go one by one. So the first thing, let's go and do first thing is that we'll copy this entire data and we put it into a new sheet. Okay, so I'll be pasting it as values. Now I'll remove some rows here in order to give you a proper explanation so that you can see how many rows we have, and it will be easier for you to visualize the entire example. So this is our data, and what we need to do is that we need to create a table, right? I'll also delete these two columns. Okay, yeah, so we need to create a table. How we can do that? The first way of creating table is that you can select this entire row using Control Shift and right key to select this entire dataset header, then Control Shift and down key to select this entire range. Okay, once you have selected this entire range, then you can press Control L and it will ask you that whether the range that you have selected is correct or not, or if you want to change the range. If you want to change the range, then you need to click on this button, then you can select the range. As you can see, when I'm selecting the range as of row number 23, you can see that it's written a $1 dot $L $23, but for me data is till L12. Okay, and it's asking whether my table has headers or not. If my table doesn't have header, then Excel will automatically provide you the header. For example, column 1 will be the header of column A, column 2 will be header of column B, and so on. So I'll click OK then, and my table is created, right? Now the thing is, when you create a table, by default it will give you this drop down functionality. So this is a filter, and we can remove this filter using Control Shift or L button. That is the first way. I'll redo it using so first I'll apply the filter and I'll show you the another way of removing this filter. So when we created this table, we already had a filter. So, and if you want to remove this filtration thing so that you can see the header properly, and you didn't want the user to click on this and see all the values, so what you can do is that you have to go to data, then you can see that filter is highlighted, because by default table creates this auto filter thing. We need to click on it and your filter will be gone, right? So this is the first way of creating table. Now I'll show you the another way of creating table. I'm copy pasting this entire data again as values here, So to create a table, what you need to do is that again you need to select this entire row, sorry, this entire range. Then what you need to do is that you need to go on Home tab. Here you see this option, Format as Table. It allows you to quickly convert a range of cells into a table. So you click on it, you will get a whole lot of table option, that how do you want to display your table basically. So for this example, I'm selecting this first one. Then again it will give you options for format as table, which I have shown you earlier, right? I'll click OK and your table is created. Now the thing is that we said that the first question was that how we can create the table. The second question is that why do we use table? See, this is our table, right? And now if suppose you want to create a new formula here where you want to put some kind of bucket, right? So if I create a new column here in column M, how the Excel will react? For example, I need to create a bucket for cycle. Okay, so I'm writing cycle bucket. You see, by default it extends the table range. Earlier when we created the table, the range was from A1 till L12. I create a new column here in M and table range is extended, right? So if I create a bucket, if the cycle is above 5, then I'll put above 5. If cycle is above below 5, I'll put it as below 5. So I'll just put a simple formula. If this cycle is greater than equal to 5, then I have to display above 5, otherwise I have to display below 5. Now just see, when I click enter, what will happen? I am applying this formula on row 2. So table automatically applies this entire formula which we have applied in row 2 in all these rows till the end of this table. So what happens is that when you create a table, it sort of becomes like an array. So if you create a formula in a particular cell, it will be applied throughout the rows. In this way, your manual intervention is less. You don't have to go and drag the formula till the end. So it's kind of a good thing with Excel, is that when you create a table, it allows you more flexible. It allows you to create for formulas which is applicable to all the rows. Now the third thing that we discussed in our video earlier in our earlier part of video is that what happens if you create a pivot table with a normal data set and a table. So what's the difference in that? So I'll just copy this entire data and paste it as values, and I'll show you the pivot table thing, that what exactly happens when you create a pivot out of a table and what is the difference when you create a pivot out of a normal data set. So I'll just select, I have selected this entire data range. I'll go to insert, then pivot table, existing sheet. I'll select this cell where I want my pivot table. Okay, so I'm just taking car names and count of car names. Okay, so okay, now I will create another pivot table using this range, which is a normal data set. Again, I'll insert pivot table in the existing worksheet, and I want this pivot table to be here. Again, I'll take car name and count of car name. Now suppose I'm adding few rows in our data set, so I'll add the same row in car name also. I'll add the same row in our I'll add the same row in our data table and in our normal data set. So what's its effect on pivot table? So suppose I'm adding test. So as I created this new car name test, you can see that all these value above from column B till column L, these are simple values. There are no formulas in this column. So it's blank, but in column M we had created the formula, so this formula automatically gets populated here. That is the first advantage of using table. Now the same thing I'll do here. I'll take test, right, and I'll put here car name. So we had pasted this entire dataset from this dataset, right, and the values are pasted as values, so we don't have to worry about the cycle bucket. I'll also copy it from here so that we'll have the same thing. Now currently when we created this pivot table, we had total number of 11 cars. After that we inserted a new row named as test car, right? Same thing we did with our this copy pasted dataset. Now see, I have added this new row test. Okay, so as per normal thinking, when we refresh this pivot, this test should come in our pivot, in this pivot table. So if I refresh it, test doesn't appear. The reason behind it that if I see the range which this pivot is taking is this range, test is not included in that range. Okay, so I'll cancel it now. And don't worry, I'll show you this entire pivot table and functionality of pivot table in our future videos, where we will go from basic till advanced level of pivot table and everything. Okay, so we are talking about, now we will be talking about this table pivot. So we had created this pivot table using our this table dataset. Till now we are unable to see this test, but again as we refreshed our previous pivot table from the normal dataset, we'll refresh this and we'll see that whether this test row which we had added in row number 13, whether it appears or not. So if I refresh it, okay, test appears here, and the reason behind it is that the range this pivot is taking is a table range. It's not taking the absolute range from A1 till M12. I'll just show you this. This is one of the best thing if we are using tables in Excel. So I'll go to analyze, change data source. Now you see, you do not have this absolute range here. You have table 3. Table 3 means this will always change based on your requirement. When you add new rows, I'll again add test 2. When you add new rows, table will automatically increase its range and your pivots or your formulas will get refreshed. So again I'll go to analyze, then change data source. You'll see that table 3 range has increased till row number 14. So that is the flexibility with table. So I have shown you how flexible table is with formulas, how flexible is with pivot table and everything, right? Now you must be thinking that, oh great, table is a wonderful thing, but there is a disadvantage of table also. The thing is that when you create a table, the normal Excel file, if for example there is an Excel file that has 1000 rows or 1 lakh of row, and it's taking a size of 10 MB or 15 MB, that is fine. Now for those 1 lakh row, if you change that range into table, earlier your Excel file was of 10 or 15 MB. Once you create a table, it will increase till almost 1 or 1.5 times. So basically, if your earlier file was 10 MB, it might get increased up to 15 MB or 20 MB based on your data. So once you create a table, your Excel file tends to have higher memory as compared to normal Excel data. So that is the only disadvantage of table, but it's a brilliant flexibility. It's a brilliant thing in Excel that you can add tables and all those formulas will be auto populated based on the formula which you have given in the table. So this is the simple explanation of table which I've shown you here. In our next video, I'll show you how you can format table in different styles. Hey, if you find this video insightful, then do check out other videos and hit the like and subscribe button.